Hey everyone, it's Wahome from Wahome Gitonga Coaching. Welcome to another episode of Business Conversations, where we interview the most successful people in a variety of industries, from business owners to award-winning writers, to influencers, to coaches, and many more. Now today I'm delighted to have with me successful businesswoman and award-winning interior designer, Katie Malik. Now, I'm going to add Katie to the conversation. Katie, it's a pleasure to have you on the call today. And wait for technical issues. Katie, it's a pleasure to have you on the call today.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Very well, thank you for inviting me to join today.
So we'll get right into the first question, Katie. So Katie, tell us about yourself. Like, what's your background and what got you into your business in the first place?
So I originally trained to be a teacher, but my passion for interior design kind of started when I was a child because my dad has been in the industry. So it's always been something very, very close to me. So after working for a couple of years as a teacher, I thought, I could do something a little bit more creative. And a friend of mine reminded me about, well, why don't you do something that you've always dreamed of doing, but didn't do for one reason or another. And this is how I started. I started retraining in interior design. I was very lucky to land internships with high-end interior design studios in London, and that kind of put me in the right place in terms of valuable industry experience, because within interior design industry, knowledge itself, university knowledge, course knowledge is not enough to kind of start running your own business and also know how to really design and face the real life kind of obstacles or things that you need to overcome. So it's very, very important to gain that industry experience first. Of course, there are different stories. Some people start fresh after university. They start their own businesses, but most first train with other studios in order to enable them to gain that valuable experience. So this is what I did. I was very lucky that I trained with people who were very experienced, and I had a chance to work with beautiful interiors. But I kind of always knew that I wanted to have my own business, be my own boss. So that's what I did in 2014. What kind of helped me a lot was obviously my own website and also blogging. I remember I was blogging every single day on a train because I needed to commute quite far. I live in Cambridge and I was commuting to work in London. So every single day on a commute I was blogging, and I suppose that helped me as well land my first clients. So that's how it started.
Okay, that's getting interesting. And so what was the idea and vision behind your business in the first instance?
So the vision, as I remember, because it changes. I think as we grow our businesses, our visions can change a little bit, since we need to adapt. For example, at the moment, we need to adapt to current circumstances. But my vision was to enable people to have beautiful homes, to really fall in love with their spaces. And behind the brand, there's a lot of emphasis on well-being, mental, physical, emotional well-being, that spaces can provide, whether it's someone's home or a commercial space, like a shop or a restaurant, for example.
Yeah, it's vision can definitely change over time, especially as the business evolves. So I know from my research around you, you've won a lot of awards for your business. But can you explain to us, like, what sets you apart from other competitors? Because obviously there's a lot of interior designers out there, but what makes you so unique that you're able to accumulate so many different awards and have national recognition?
That's a good question. I keep on asking myself the same question. What sets me apart? um, well, like I've mentioned before, before I started my own business, I had a chance to to gain experience in very successful studios that work internationally, that work globally. And what I've learned there were fantastic methods of communicating design, which I've obviously adopted. So when it comes to the methods that we adapt, they're pretty much, well, the same, in a sense that we put in a lot of effort into details and making sure that through the journey that we take, every step on the journey that we take our clients on, they're fully informed. We take into consideration all their needs and their requirements, but we're there with them through their journey with the design. And what we do, we really care about communicating the designs to our clients the best way possible. And I know it may sound like, oh, but everyone should do that, of course, but everyone has their own way of doing that. So we're always there for our clients. And what we also do with the designs, we make them really as easy to understand, because sometimes it's really difficult for someone, for example, who may be struggling with imagining a space, to understand what's actually going to happen, how it's going to look like. That's why we have a visualizer in-house. So what we do, we produce photorealistic visuals to enable our clients to actually see the vision, and the way we present is very, very detailed, all the specifications. What we also do, because we believe that the client should be part of the journey. So what we do, we get them quite involved in the process, and also we're very transparent. So the client has access to everything right from the beginning. Whereas sometimes certain things maybe get concealed, or maybe they're not as transparent. It's one of the industry's kind of pitfalls that sometimes from the outside may seem like some certain things are not as transparent as they should be. So we aim for that transparency as much as possible with the clients, apart from other things.
Yeah, it sounds like it's important to really understand the client's needs. Provide them results.
It's primary. Yes, it's definitely at the core, because if we fail to understand our clients' needs, we can't produce the designs that reflect their needs. So we can't create the spaces that we aim for them, and we aim to create spaces that clients fall in love with, that they they feel good in, but also function for them. So it's not just the aesthetics, but also the function, that they fulfill the functions for a particular person, because you can design one space in so many different ways. So the clients are really at the core. And I think what's landed as the awards obviously is beautiful designs, but also they're functioning for the purpose that we're meant to be created for.
I think that's really important. I think a lot of businesses fail to sometimes understand it's about providing clients with the results, and not just focus on what they think is best for clients, and also having that communication with the clients, that you're constantly communicating and making yourself available for them.
Yes, that's at our core, of course. We aim to, we're still a small business, and we are not planning on becoming a big business, because we want to have control over every single part of the journey, part of the process. And we also create bespoke solutions, and we want to kind of remain bespoke as a, we kind of feel more like a family, really. Than we're not a big corporation. Like I said, we're not gonna do that. It's not our goal. So we want to ensure that the client remains at the core of the business. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in business terms, it's called client centricity. So really the client is at the center of the activity.
So just obviously we know where you are right now, but is there anything that you wish you had known when you first started that you've learnt along the way that you might
Loads.
change?
Loads. I think you could never be prepared for that, for what the business actually running a business entails. I remember when I started, I almost now that when I look back, I feel it was almost like I was completely clueless about what I was doing, apart from I knew how to design.
Mm.
And I knew how to run a procurement and install a project. But really, from a business point of view, I was a baby basically. I had no clue. So yes, I wish I had known a lot of things. One thing I suppose a lot of designers maybe don't think about when they think about, oh, I'm going to start my own business, that actually you have to step outside of your comfort zone. You might be a fantastic interior designer, but if you want to run your business, you have to also become a business owner. And this is one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I'm still learning how to be a good business owner as well, apart from just being a good interior designer.
And what would you say, just so like anyone who's viewing or watching this later can understand, like what was the biggest challenge that you faced when you first started, and how did you manage to overcome that challenge to stay in business?
That's a good question, because I think there were, of course, many challenges, which I faced at the very beginning. So it's tricky to find just one that would be maybe most relevant. I suppose at the beginning, it's about building your client base, and if when you start, you might not be, well, you probably are not very well known in your industry. So the challenge is, how do you take yourself from being unknown or relatively unknown to being well known and recognized, and someone that a business that other people want to work with, that people want your services, not your competitors' services. So that just simply takes time and persistence. In my first year, I might have had like 2 or 3 projects, and now we're running like 10 plus projects. So it's all about continuing what you're doing the right things. Definitely, I would say investing a lot in marketing. It's definitely something that helped brand recognition. So if people don't know about you, they can't hire you, or you might be the best person in your industry, but if they don't know about you, they won't come to you. So marketing. What's also helped a lot is getting business coaching, so coaching from right people. I've been obviously a member of big business events in the last year, and that's helped me a lot, getting to know the ins and outs of business, and how to manage different aspects. So yeah, different elements of business, obviously, that help you grow. But like I said at the beginning, you can't expect to grow if you don't invest in those things at the same time. So yeah, just investing in the right parts of your business is definitely something that is challenging at the beginning, but at the same time, it's a must if you want to kind of go forward.
There's a lot of people who are business owners get very scared about the idea of investing in marketing because they might not understand marketing, or even the idea of going and getting a coach or mentor and having to ask for help, because obviously we have that natural inclination where we want to do things on our own, that we know everything.
Yes.
And I think that often can, because you can't get to the top on your own. No one gets there on their own. So
Yeah.
I definitely feel when you're talking about marketing and getting a mentor, it's vital for a lot of businesses to do that, but they're so afraid to have to spend money and bring that cost.
Yeah, but I suppose it's one of those things that catch-22, isn't it? You have to invest in order to gain something back. So, and it's a very simple philosophy. If people, like I said before, if people don't know about you, how are you supposed to, get clients and how you're supposed to operate. So I think it's marketing is essential part of every business, and also learning from others, whether you choose a coach, whether you choose books, whether you choose podcast. I think it's essential to have someone to guide you, unless you have the experience of running a business. And obviously you wouldn't be in that place if you did. So I think it's absolutely essential to invest in those two things in order to run any business, for that matter. Get the guidance and get the right advice for your business is a way to go. To
Definitely agree with you. So going on your business, like, how's the business grown over the past few months, like compared to how it was before? Like, what growth have you been seeing?
Well, it's been growing really, really well. Obviously, now we've experienced a bit of not really a pause, because we're still working, because design is a process, so it does take time to basically finalize the designs, go from the initial brief through concept, develop design, and technical design, which enables the actual installation. So that can take, depending on the size of the project, that can take a couple of months. So we are still working, but of course we are seeing how obviously the current pandemic is affecting people's minds and maybe attitudes. So some people still want to work, still want to have their homes redesigned, or they had the realization of, oh my God, it's not working for me anymore. And some people are simply holding back because they're afraid of the future, and they don't want to necessarily make any investments at the moment. So we've been growing fantastically until now, and now we're just taking care of the projects that we started before the pandemic.
What do you think has been the unique skill that's allowed you to be successful?
Persistence. I'm not sure it's that unique as a skill itself, but it's definitely persistence, because I think if you are not persistent, maybe if you experience some adversities, you might simply just step back and say, you know what, it didn't work, I don't want to do it anymore, I give up. And of course, there were many situations that I faced in the last 6 years of the business that were not necessarily all about celebration and successes. That were some adversities, but I've never given up. Some moments were hard, but I was always in a mindset of solutions, and this is something that also I learned from people in one of the studios that I worked in. That everyone, I remember what the senior designer at the time said to me. He says, Katie, everyone will sooner or later make a mistake. We're just human beings, but it's about how you're gonna come up with a solution. It's not about saying, oops, I made a mistake, too bad, or I'm not too good at it, or it didn't work. It's about, okay, this has happened, what's the solution, how can I make it better?
It's good that you talk about persistent, because it leads me on to my next question. Like, what advice would you give to people out there who are looking to start a business or a project, but they're just too scared to make that first step, or they're procrastinating loads, or they're having all the excuses that are coming up? I don't have the money, or I haven't time. Like, what advice would you give to those people?
So you're talking about people who are wanting to open a business or start a project?
Both.
Okay.
I'd say both, yeah.
Okay. Well, if you don't try, you never know, right? So it's about having the courage, to muster the courage to actually make that first step. Because again, if you don't try, you never know. So have the courage, and if you have a particular dream, something that, like a calling, something that you've always dreamt of doing, or maybe you're stuck working for somebody else, you want to have your own business, just give it a go and see what resources you actually need. Because you've mentioned maybe they don't have money, maybe they don't have something else, but there's always a way. I know people who are now running businesses who didn't have any money to start, but they found the money to start and now they're running. So I do believe that there's always a way if you really want to. So basically ask yourself if that's the true calling and if that's really what you want to do, and just give it a go. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work, right? But if you don't try, you just will never know.
I think that's the key thing. Like, if you don't take the action, then, you know, nothing will ever happen. And you're only failing yourself if you don't take action. And I think that's the key thing for a lot of people, that they hold on to waiting for the right moment, or, you know, when the situation feels right for them to do it, when actually you have to just take the first step and just commit to your idea.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, just kind of thinking about myself, like when I started, I took a plunge. I just thought, you know what, this is the opportunity and I'm going to make it work now. I've been waiting for this anyway, very, very long time. So I'm just going to do it and give it a go. And it was scary, of course. It's, you know, when you're at the beginning, you know, it's scary because it's the first time. But again, I think you just need to have courage and faith that, you know, you're doing the right thing. But like I said, if you don't try, you never know.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think has been the key to building a strong relationship with your clients, so that other people know as well, if they're going to create a business or if they own a business, how they can go around creating this relationship with the clients?
Well, I've mentioned this before, that in my brand, clients are at the core. So obviously we work with clients, they're at the core of the business, we create for them. So I think adopting that attitude that, you know, client is at the center of your activity, of your business activity, is the key, and everything kind of falls from that. Obviously, you know, there's so many aspects to client relationships, but it's about putting them first and putting their needs first. Especially, I think I don't think actually, there's a big difference between service and a product industry, because the product should be created with the users in mind, with clients in mind as well. And for the services is pretty much the same. The services are for somebody. So I think putting that at the core of every single, you know, activity is the recipe for success. Because if you then, I think you've mentioned that as well, if you create services or business with, you know, with the mind that our clients are just, you know, kind of secondary or whatever, they're not the first ones, then maybe it will be a little bit more difficult. So approaching everything with that mindset, so creating for people, not just with people in mind, but for them, I think is the key.
I definitely agree with that. Like, you have to put your clients at the main core of your business. Otherwise, if you're creating products just based on your own, what you think is right for the clients, you might be in a situation where people don't buy your products, or you can't relate to what your clients really need. So you have that disengagement with them. So I think I definitely agree with you. Yeah, it's important that businesses are thinking about, you know, what the clients' needs, what their pains are, challenges are, and how can they provide a service to address those.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this word might probably sound a bit, you know, spiritual to some people, but I'm still going to say it. It's about being empathetic as well, because I think if you have empathy with your clients, you will put yourself in their shoes. You will try to understand them. You will create for them, and that empathy takes you quite far.
Definitely agree. So what motivates you to, and what motivates drives you really, like, to keep going forward?
You know, I think I ask myself sometimes on some days, like, why am I still doing this? No, just kidding. I think it's something that you feel inside, and motivation. And I know there's been a lot of kind of, you know, ways of, oh, do this, you know, to motivate yourself. But I think if you genuinely love what you do, it comes so naturally. And if you if you see happy clients, then that's the greatest motivator for me. And yeah, I'm just crazy about what I do. Sometimes I just do it kind of as in my free time as well. I look at some blueprints of houses and I think, oh my God, this could be so much better with this. And they're not even my clients or anything. I just love doing it. This is what I always loved doing since I was a little girl. In fact, this is how my mom remembers me. She remembers me redrawing the blueprints of plans. So I think if you find that thing that you love what you do, then motivation is kind of like a byproduct. Really, you don't have to do anything in particular to stay motivated.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you have that passion and that purpose, that's what is a great motivator to help keep you driven. So I think it's important, like, if people are going to create a business, that they have that passion for it. Otherwise, at some point, they will lose interest when it gets hard.
Exactly. I think that's it, really. I mean, yes, you can probably find lots of different books on how to motivate yourself, and with all due respect to that, I think if you don't have a true calling for what you do, it will be hard. As simple as that. But I think in a lot of the businesses in many industries, a lot of them are started because they're born out of passion for something. So definitely.
So what would you think is the most common reason for most people failing or giving up in your experience around business?
Well, I think when they, again, when times are hard, I think they give up. So they lack this persistence. And of course, I also think that there are times when you have to say, you know what, it just didn't work, for example, but it doesn't mean that you don't try again. Or maybe you revisit what you've been doing. What could have you done differently, or maybe what you can do differently in your next venture. So yeah, I think it's the persistence and kind of giving up when facing adversities. That's what makes people quit. And yeah, kind of not seeing what can be done differently. And this is when also coaching comes into place, because I think if you have a good coach, even if you have some issues, even if you face adversities, you can be kind of redirected on the right path. Or sometimes when you are in a business, you don't see certain things in the same way that people who kind of can look at your business from the outside can see. So like I've mentioned before, I think having some form of coaching is definitely useful and can prevent you from failing, because again, we can all face different challenges, but having someone say, hey, have you tried this, or how about this, and you go like, oh, actually, yeah, why not, I'll try this.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I know in my experience that, like, having a coach there that says to you, why have you done this, or that calls you out. When you're
keeps you accountable.
Yeah, you're having those days where you just aren't motivated, that calls you out. Like, are you, or even when you put an idea and they ask you, are you thinking about the clients, or are you thinking about yourself? And making sure that
that's a great question. Yeah,
you're putting your clients at the center of all your ideas and how you're visioning your business. So I definitely agree with you there. Like, a coach is really important to allow you to stay on the path and not just give up.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I remember my first coach taught me how to adapt my proposal to make it to suit my industry. And I that was in 2016, and I'm still using that because I had his insight and his knowledge, because I couldn't see. Sometimes when you're kind of marinating in something for a long time, you can't see beyond that. So it's great to have someone else's insight and advice as well, and that can help you immensely run a business, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. So we can't not talk about COVID-19, because it's affecting
of course,
it's affecting our businesses, and it's totally transformed many industries right now. And of course, like there are many businesses that have gone out of business, unfortunately, or are seeing financial restrictions. Like during this crisis, how have you had to adapt to the changing environment and ensure that your business is still remaining competitive and also providing the service to your clients?
Great. So basically, we are still, like I mentioned before, we're still running, we're still operating. The only thing that we do kind of differently is the way we present and the way we conduct surveys. What we've done now, we've invited clients who want to work with us to provide the measurements, which we then turn into drawings, which get approved by the client. And then with all the presentations, what we do, we conduct them on a Zoom platform. And then we either deliver or we post the samples to the client, because normally we would have a face-to-face conversation. The client would be able to see the presentation, touch the samples at the same time. So this is how we adapted our services now. To basically not to break the law, first of all, but also to stay safe and to keep other people safe. This is how we've adapted the business, and we are still saying to the client, you know, we can probably get this done for you, but it requires a little bit more planning and maybe time for samples or for getting certain materials to us. So this is how we're coping with the situation. And I know because we've had 4 presentations since the COVID-19, so that's quite a lot in the last 3 weeks, and we've had very positive feedback from the clients saying, oh, it's wonderful that you've done all this work and you've managed to get all these samples, you know, despite the circumstances. So we are trying to operate as normal, and I think this is what hopefully sets us apart from the competition, that we're still running, we're trying to do things as normal as possible, and we are not lowering the quality of any of our services or anything. Of course, we try to stress to the client that because of the situation, we might be held back by certain things. We're trying to finish a project that was meant to be finished kind of at that time when it all happened. So obviously we're a bit delayed, but we did everything we could to get the client, to allow them to come back home and make it as usable as possible. So we're doing kind of everything we can and beyond to serve our clients, to give them the same kind of service. So we're not compromising on anything. The only thing that is basically out of our control are the timelines. But despite that, we're still doing what we would typically do for them.
Well, we've seen a lot of companies now during this COVID lockdown moving to online. How are you coping with that challenge of providing the same service but online?
So like I've mentioned, we conduct everything online now, but there's no difference to what would happen in real life. For example, yesterday we had a presentation with a client on Zoom, and immediately after I drove to drop the samples so the client could see them fresh rather than waiting. And sometimes because of the distances, we might have to send the samples, which might take a couple of days. But so this is how we basically we adopt it. There's no different to the service, but obviously whatever would have normally be taking place face to face, now it's done online. But apart from that, really we're doing everything as normal.
And so with this lockdown, there's a lot of people who are out there who are very feeling like demotivated, or they've lost that drive. Like, what keeps you motivated right now to, you know, and it's not causing you to just give up or scale back on marketing or scale back on actually providing the service?
Well, first of all, I've mentioned this. I really think that marketing and investing in marketing is absolutely essential for the business development, because if people don't know about you, you won't have a business basically. So that's number one thing. So cutting down on marketing costs now is a no-no. Actually, increasing communications and increasing marketing is at the core of of maintaining, I would say, maintaining the business, maintaining visibility. What motivates me? I mean, the same thing as before. I love what I do, and we still have clients that rely on us, that want us to work for them. So that's obviously great motivator itself, that our services are needed, and what motivates me is trying to basically deliver exactly the same service to them as before, despite the circumstances, really, because I think circumstances, sometimes we might use them maybe to our disadvantage, like, oh, the situation's really hard and I'm not going to do anything about it, but instead just saying, okay, you know what, we can actually operate as normal as possible, and yeah, just keep on going. I know it might be a bit harder, and it is harder for us as well. Like I said, even from the point of view of samples, some of them just take 4 weeks to reach us, which is, in normal circumstances, absolutely unacceptable. Unless something a sample is produced like bespoke, like it's something that we created, or it's completely different, then yes. But obviously, to wait 4 weeks for samples, and I'm not actually exaggerating, because we ordered some samples like literally 3-4 weeks ago, and they're just arriving. But not using that as an excuse to stop us from working. That's the biggest thing.
I think the key thing here is to keep going and focus on other areas of the business. And also use the time wisely to work on other areas where there hasn't been as much growth, or even with your own development, to keep developing yourself, and don't just give up or just stop being motivated.
Definitely. I mean, I couldn't agree more.
So what do you think has been the biggest, failure or unsuccess that you had in the last year, and why do you think it happened?
Last year?
In the last year, or maybe during your time in business, why do you think it happened? Could you say, just so that people can understand, yes, you've had loads of successes, but there have been times where you've had real big challenges, and you managed to overcome them, because you're still here right now, and you're still
no one wants
growing.
to share their failures. I don't like talking about, failure. I think it's I don't believe in failure, really. I don't believe in it, because I think that you can make mistakes, and I mentioned that before, but there's always a solution. Even if you made a mistake, there's always a solution. So I don't believe in failure. Failure for me doesn't exist, basically. But challenges, of course. I suppose it's tricky to pick one, one thing, because again, for us, it's about, even when we face some challenges, so obviously some projects are more challenging, other projects are less challenging. So it's a degree of, how big was the challenge, but also what kind of solution we provided, and how we dealt with it. So that's in terms of projects. In terms of failures in business, again, I don't really believe in that. I can honestly say that despite the challenges, the business has grown really, really well. I think last year, was it last year, 2019? Sorry, I'm here ahead. 2019, I think business was a little bit slow. Oh, I can tell you about this, because this was an interesting challenge. So the business was a little bit slow, not as busy as typically would be I think it was between February and maybe May, so a couple of months. And I remember I was really puzzled. I was like, what's going on? Why am I not having inquiries now, or as many inquiries as I would typically do? It's like, what on earth is going on? It doesn't mean that we didn't have any work or anything, but just the number of inquiries dropped a lot. And that was obviously to do with Brexit. So sometimes we are like COVID-19, Brexit, all these things that happen externally. Obviously, we have very little or no control over them, but it's how we react. So what I did then, I was really starting to invest a lot of the time into marketing and making sure that marketing was growing actually. So and again, that takes time. So it took a couple of months, and then things really picked up amazingly in June. Like all of a sudden, boom, back to having so many inquiries that I had to, I think maybe even end of May, that I had to bring another person in. So I think, yeah, investing in marketing was the solution to the obstacle of, a low number of inquiries, which was an effect of Brexit, and how people perceived Brexit, and what kind of, how they were kind of holding back because they didn't know what was going to happen.
I mean, there is this fear right now of that people don't have money, which isn't the case. Like, there's plenty of money, and that people are still willing to spend money, but you just need to get your message out there, as you're saying, like with the marketing. Like, you need to continue the communication and invest in yourself, because that's going to get you the results you're after. But obviously, a lot of businesses have right now scaled back their marketing. They've cut back on their sales. They've cut back on different areas of the business. And even like advertising right now, like to do like a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad, it's the prices you're paying are very cheap, and a lot of people are advertising right now.
Yes, a lot.
They're missing
Yeah,
the
you
trick.
see a lot of ads.
So I definitely feel like, as you're saying, like people investing in marketing right now is the key that will keep their business going afloat.
Yeah, and I think coaching as well, because it can be hard sometimes, as you said. Like, obviously, we love what we do, but still, we're just human beings. So sometimes we get those days when you feel like, oh, where am I going? Is that the right path? And so on and so forth. And then if you have somebody to call and someone to to kind of help you see maybe things that you temporarily stop seeing, I think it's great. So those two things are very, very important at the core of a business, apart from those things that have to be there, so your passion for it and knowing where you want to take this. I think, yeah, definitely. Like, again, you see another obstacle, COVID-19, but what do we do? I mean, do we sit and cry? Like, I mean, we can, but I think we can also try and find solutions. Like, so what can we do differently? Do we do something differently? Of course. How? And yeah, by finding solutions and remaining positive, I think we also like help other people stay positive and see, that's not the end. It could be the beginning. And we faced worse. I mean, maybe not us, but previous generations have faced a lot of adversities, and they still lived, and some of them thrived. So I think it's about the attitude to the situation.
Let me on to my next question. So what do you think is the biggest challenge facing your industry, and how is your business going to adapt to those challenges
at the moment?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. Well, from a pure, like, kind of pure design point of view, the thing that as designers, we're gonna have to adapt is obviously completely different requirements. We did talk about how important understanding client is and what they need. So obviously, we're at a very pivotal moment in history that needs human beings needs are changing. And because we occupy spaces, we don't live outside, we live in buildings, we conduct things inside. Requirements of spaces are going to change, to be affected massively. So it's very important for us now to consider how, and there's going to be a lot of innovation in how we design, and also in product specifications. I did actually a very long video on that, which is still available on my Facebook page, which is all about how we're going to respond and what can we expect. So that we're going to have to design differently. We're going to have to revise the materials that we're going to specify. And we're talking about all of it from kind of zero touch point of view or a minimum touch point of view. So maybe voice operated lighting, maybe surfaces that can be very easily cleaned, are antibacterial in themselves. So a lot of those things, I mean, we can talk about it for the whole day. So that's from a design point of view. Pure design point of view. Business, obviously we're going to have to continue doing what we're doing, what we've been doing in the last couple of weeks. So seeing clients less face to face, but seeing clients digitally, and conducting things without necessarily having that personal contact, which is a little bit different, but it is still possible. We actually did, we started doing that last year. We did a project in Virginia in the US, and we did that completely digitally. We didn't fly there, and we were supplied, basically we were supplied the measurements. We did all the drawings, we did all the design, and we communicated with clients digitally. Actually, we didn't even use Zoom, we used FaceTime, and sharing the presentations. Then we sent the samples, and yeah, everything went really, really smoothly. So it is possible to really do that. And I think with almost every single business, it is possible. I mean, I know some local businesses that gave up as soon as there was a lockdown. They just shut down, that's it. And I knew some that kind of adapted new ways of serving the clients. So yeah, all possible.
Definitely, I definitely agree with you. Like, you've got to be able to adapt, change strategy, and stay motivated and continue invested in not only your business but yourself. Going on that line, so I know you touched on this a bit before, but are there any resources that really helped you along the way, like to become to the point where you are right now?
And resources.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think obviously training and knowledge, that's a great resource. Experience, absolutely invaluable resource. That takes you further and further. So the more experience you gain, obviously the better you become. Persistence. Persistence is the key, I think, as we both agree. I mean, this seems to be the topic of the conversation. Persistence. And definitely marketing, so the right marketing, coaching, but I would also not underestimate human resources, and that's for any organization. That includes myself, but also people who work with me. So I have a fantastic team, and I wouldn't have done this without them. So there are a lot of resources out there that obviously help me. I always try to stress that design is not a kind of a result of a single brain, if you wish. It's a collaboration, and also in a way, for us, it's the clients, because we're client-led, we're lifestyle-led. Clients are at the core of it as well. So clients are a great resource of motivation, of inspiration, because we have to kind of, find new solutions all the time to suit different briefs, different clients, different requirements of our spaces. Last year we had a fantastic challenge. It was a first retail space. It was a travel agency that we designed, and that was, amazing challenge, and a great resource of knowledge and experience for us as well. That we kind of had to think beyond, someone's home. We had to think more how the space is going to actually help other people. So it's a public space, and obviously taking into consideration the owner's kind of idea, view of how they wanted things, but also adapting them to the public, and seeing how it could work for more people. So that's a great challenge as well.
I think you touched on the idea of the importance of having a good team around you, and how vital it is to make sure that the people you're working with and the people you surround yourself with are the people that are going to be supporting you, motivating you, and also share the same ambitions and drives as you. And how
Yes.
easy it is for a lot of people to have negative people around them who aren't on the same journey as they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely vital to have to surround yourself with right people, because like you quite rightly mentioned, if you surround yourself with the wrong ones, your organization, your business may suffer. So it's very important for a business owner to get people who you know, have similar values, believe in a brand. I think it's very important that they become integral of your brand, of your values, of your vision. Because if you don't share the same vision, and if they're there just for, you know, themselves or whatever other reasons, money, I don't know, then obviously you're not gonna get the same results. So I do believe in team building and the spirit of the team, because yeah, it's especially for small businesses, it's absolutely essential that you get, you know, you get your twin sisters and brothers basically. And so yeah, people who share as much of your passion and values and everything else as possible.
Agree with all that. So Katie, we know you're a successful businesswoman, but what are you not very good at?
Many things. Many things. I hate washing dishes, but no, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. I hate doing dishes. Absolutely awful. I don't know who invented that. We should all just be throwing things outside through the window. So, are you asking what I'm not good at, like personally, or my personal life, or
yeah,
business
personally,
life?
what are you not good at? Like,
Dishes,
you'll have
doing dishes.
do one thing. One thing.
No, it's probably a lot of things, but like I said, who likes to talk about, you know, their faults? It also depends how you look at things, right? And what might not be good for one person might be good for another person. But business-wise, I suppose I've always been thinking that I'm not a good salesperson. In a sense that, you know, like selling myself, like what are they talking about? Like, how do I sell myself? Like, I don't need to sell myself. Like, you know, what is this? So I think this has been something that it's still a bit of a foreign concept to me, because you know, I do what I do with passion, and the concept of selling is a little bit like, you know, this is for those people who just like, you know, come and try to sell you things. It's not for me. It's actually for every single business. It's just obviously in a kind of in a different perspective, in a different angle. But yeah, in the personal life, I think I'm really not good at doing dishes. Let's leave it at that. I just absolutely hate it.
So Katie, like, what's next? Like, how can people work with you? How can they reach you?
All right, so they can reach me through social media channels. So Katie Malik Interiors, both Facebook, Instagram, not so much on Twitter. I've never been a Twitter person. We have a beautiful website built by HC Media, so that's katiemalik.co.uk. So they can see portfolio. They can send a contact form, or just send us an email. Most of our clients tend to send us an email first, so they can send it to info@katiemalik.co.uk. And the next thing is also the book I would like to just mention. So it's almost ready to be sent to Amazon. So soon there will be a link to that in a bio, and hopefully it will be inspiring and useful to a lot of homeowners, or people who are thinking about doing their own design projects. So that's the closest approaching thing.
Oh, and when does the book come out again?
I don't. We're working very hard to meet the standards of the required standards for printing. So yeah, we're getting very, very close. So hopefully very soon. I should hope like sometime next week.
Oh, sounds exciting. Okay. Very
It's very
exciting. Sounds like you've
exciting.
got some good projects coming up. And then what final piece of advice would you give people out there who are wanting to, start a business or a project? Like, what kind of final thing would you leave them with?
Well, start something that you're really passionate about. Let it be your calling, your true calling. Whatever you do it with your heart. Put the clients at first. Put the clients at the center, whether it's a product, it's a service. Be persistent. Don't give up if you really believe that what you do is the right for you. So this would be my advice.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much. It was lovely speaking to you.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the call. And I think I'll just leave, like, as Katie said, like, to people out there who are going to be watching this later or watching it now, like, the importance of, like, really investing in yourself and ensuring that you're also investing in your business and also having that passion. And it's easy, like, right now to give up, but to stay motivated and productive. So thank you for being on here and being willing to do the interview. And
thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for inviting me.
And we'll see you soon, Katie. And good luck with your endeavours.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And now...